Hey guys, Prowl 1701 here, and today I'm going to be talking about what I think are the top 15 best Doctor Who stories of the past decade. Now, I'm recording this when the latest episode is The Story and the Engine, so it'll be from Series 9, which came out in 2015. I'll be counting 2015 with 2025. So I guess this will really encompass 11 years, but I feel like counting 2015 is fair. It's sad because I can't put Season 8 in, or Series 8, because that was 2014, because Flatline and Mummy on the Orient Express would definitely be on this list. They're phenomenal stories. Kill the Moon would definitely not be on this list. But it's basically from Series 9 through The Story and the Engine. I'm going to rank what I think are the top 15 stories we've had, the best. Now, this is a little different than if I was doing my favorite. I'm trying to say the ones I think are actually the best. Also, to be fair, though, it's hard to be as much of a fan of a show or a game or a product as I am of Doctor Who and be 100% objective. There's just no way to really be 100% objective. So there will probably be some subjectivity in here. But I am trying to not do a list that's just top 15 favorite stories. Not only would that change some of the stories on the list, but that would definitely change the order of some of the stories on this list. I am trying to look at the ones I think are the 15 best stories that we've had in the past decade of Doctor Who. At the bottom of the list, in 15th place, is Lux. I enjoyed Lux. It was between a couple of them what would get on this list. For instance, one of them I wanted to put on here, which I didn't put on here, was the Tesla episode. Because you guys know I love the Tesla episode. And if I was doing top 15 favorite stories, the Tesla episode would be on here. Part of that's just the guy playing Tesla. It's so good. But I enjoy the story. But I think trying to be as objective as I can, I think Lux deserved to be on here more, so the Tesla episode's not on the list as much as I personally enjoy it. And now, while I wouldn't put Lux like as an S-tier story, I do like the idea, and I think the execution's done really well. Season 2 as a whole is very visually impressive. I like the way it's directed, I like the way the camera work's done in the whole season. And then I enjoy the story, the very Who Framed Roger Rabbit style of combining traditional animation, or what looks like traditional animation, with live action. And even one of the people who worked on Who Framed Roger Rabbit worked on this episode. That pleases me to no end. I think Ncuti Gat was putting in a good performance. I think, was it Verida? I'm not sure how you say her name. Playing Belinda puts in a good performance. Alan is great, voicing Mr. Ring-a-Ding. I like the character design of Mr. Ring-a-Ding. I like the guest cast. The woman in the shop who's worried about her son, and the guy who runs the projection booth, the older guy who just wants to see his wife. I really like them in this. It takes a few interesting twists. Now, the Doctor Who fan segment is a little jarring. It doesn't need to be there. It's a little odd. It doesn't upset me, but it's a little odd. And then the ending of the story is kind of, oh, really? Okay. Well, that's it. And then I don't like the tapping into the Doctor's regeneration energy again. Like, hasn't he just run out of regeneration energy by now? He seems to have infinite regeneration energy. Hey, oh, I have a broken arm. I'll just heal it with infinite regeneration energy. And he's like, I've been saving this regeneration energy for this burn. I'm like, hasn't it been past 16 hours of your regeneration? The little bit when Mr. Ring-a-Ding's turning realistic looking because the regeneration energy's kind of to me. Even though the design of Mr. Ring-a-Ding in 3D looks terrifying. And then the bit with the sunlight just kind of, it's a little anticlimactic to me. But still a good episode overall. And it does a really good job of how it handles the racial divide of the time in that location. It handles it really well. It mentions it and acknowledges it, which it should, without beating you over the head with it or feeling like it's lecturing to you. It handles that in a very well done way, which my hat's off. It handles it in a much better way than I think Rosa handles it. Next on the list is War of the Suntarans. War of the Suntarans, I'm not the biggest fan of Flux. War of the Suntarans almost works as a standalone episode, though. Having rewatched it recently, it looks very nice visually. It has a very cinematic look to it, which I like. Being able to see an actual army of Suntarans on the march is really nice. And then the lead up to the battle between the Suntarans and the English soldiers, just something you couldn't have seen in Classic Who, and it looks good. I like the guest cast, the woman playing, not Florence Nightingale, but the other, I don't know her name, but does a really good job. The guy playing the kind of general commander who's, well, kind of a butt, let's say, he's good. The actor playing him does a good job. The bit with Yaz and Ryan being kind of whisked away is weird. And then, not Ryan, Dan. And then Dan being able to sneak into the Suntaran compound is kind of plot convenience. You know, it happens because the plot needs it to happen. And the fact they can communicate with each other across the distances is kind of convenient. But it's enjoyable. I enjoy the dialogue between the Doctor and the Suntarans. First the captured Suntaran and then the Suntaran commander. I like when they have dialogue together. And I love that bit about, plus I wanted to ride a horse. That's funny to me. And seeing a Suntaran on a horse. Plus I like this Suntaran design better than the Russell T. Davies Suntaran design. They just look more intimidating. Chris Chibnall, say what you want, but he understands Classic Who villains pretty well. I found this one very enjoyable on my latest rewatch. Next on the list, sticking with the Whittaker era, is Can You Hear Me? Now, the ending... Well, the ending is actually good. My main problem with Can You Hear Me, the one thing that keeps it from being higher, is the fact the Sonic can hack the fingers of the gods. I mean, they're gods. And the Sonic hacks the guy's fingers. The Sonic that still won't work on a wooden door, that can't open a wooden door, can hack the gods' fingers. That's ridiculous. But once I look past that, I still really enjoy the episode. Again, the performances, the actors playing the two gods, especially the guy, the male god, because we see him more in the story. He's just creepy. And when him and Whittaker have that conversation together in the episode, and she's like, well, you're a legend, you're a myth, and he's just like, I blush. That's a great scene. I enjoy that scene. It's nice to see some of the daily life of the companions, because the companions in Whittaker's era don't get enough fleshing out. They really don't, because it's a crowded TARDIS. So seeing Yaz with her backstory, seeing Ryan try to reconnect with his friends, I forget what Graham does really, but I enjoy that, and seeing their fears. I like the idea and concept too, plus the fact that realizing that when they free the other god, that she's actually evil and worse than the guy god is, but evil in a different way. And then I do love the actual ending when the Doctor confronts them without any fear. This is probably Whittaker's best moment in the role. The way she just owns both of those gods. And she's great. She's perfect with her line delivery. Her lines are written well here. She really feels like the Doctor in this scene. When at times, Whittaker a lot of times just doesn't quite click as the Doctor for me. But she 100% clicks in this scene. When she basically just owns both of them. This Time Lord who just looks at these two gods and is basically like puny gods. And just completely owns them. So it's a really good episode with a really good message as well. Next on the list is the story and the engine. Maybe it's recency biased in its favor, but I do love how this story looks visually. One, I like when Doctor Who shows other parts of the world and other culture. It's nice seeing, I know they didn't actually film this in Nigeria, but it's nice seeing the Doctor go to Nigeria, seeing the shops, getting a little taste of that culture and the feel of it, and then seeing how they weave some of the stories of that culture into the story. I enjoy that. I think the cast is good. Now, some of the guys trapped in the shop, they don't really get fleshed out much, but The previous owner of the shop, I like him. I like the girl that's helping the main bad guy. I'm not good with names. But the one that ends up helping the doctor at the end, the one who recognizes the doctor, I think she's doing good. And then, of course, the actor playing the barber is great. I know he's been in Doctor Who before, because he played the lion in the episode with Game of Thrones girl. He's really good in this, because he has to run a whole lot of different emotions in this story, from intimidating and mysterious to, more the end of the episode when we see him sad and just, wanting his revenge and wanting credit for his work. It's a whole lot of emotions he goes through, and the actor conveys that so well. Ncuti Gatwa is very good in this story, and you feel like the writer just understands how to write his doctor. And I think Gatwa kills his lines, just absolutely kills it in a great way. And then I feel like Belinda doesn't get a lot to do. She's just kind of there. But, I mean, for what she can do, it's great. And I enjoy the story. I love the visuals of when they're telling stories and it's represented on that screen. I love that art style a lot. The whole thing about the World Wide Web touching into fantasy, kind of reminding me of The Ring from 73 Yards. That was a nice little connection. And the fact that the bad guy isn't really a bad guy like we've had some of in this season. You understand why he feels the way he does. You understand his motivations. I like that. He feels like a three-dimensional character. He just wants credit really for his work, and that's made him angry and bitter. And to live as long as he has, that just festers and grows. And I can understand wanting credit for your work. I totally get that. And then I enjoy the ending. It's nice to see... spoilers, I guess. It's nice to see a little cameo from Jo Martin. I wish we had more of her. Jo Martin's such a good doctor. What we've gotten of her, I'd really like to see her fleshed out. If they could give Jo Martin a miniseries, and I'd be so happy. I mean, if they do that, I still want my Paul McGann miniseries, let me tell you. But I would love to give Jo Martin a miniseries. Give her like a 6-episode, 8-episode miniseries. I would be set. And then the scene, of course, when we see all of the doctors, when the doctor's talking about his stories, and we're seeing glimpses of Troughton and Pertwee, and I enjoyed that. That was nice to see. I always love when they do that. And then I like the music that plays there a lot. This was a really enjoyable story. Again, not S tier, but very enjoyable. But going to be interesting to see what I think of it on rewatch. Next on the list is Wild Blue Yonder. Now, again, if I was doing favorites, I think this one might be a little higher. I'm trying to stick with best. Again, I'm never going to be able to be 100% objective with a list like this. I'm too invested into the show. But I liked Wild Blue Yonder. I know some people think the special effects don't look good. I don't get that. I think the special effects look great. I love the hallway. I think the effects look good. Maybe it's because I don't have a 4K TV or something, but I think the effects look really good. I mean, my TV's like 11 years old at least. But I love the design of the robot, very Marvin the Robot inspired. I love the design of the ship. I love the fact that some of what you think is CG effects for the non-Wii or whatever you call them are practical effects, like the long arms. You think that's CGI, but it's really a practical arm. That's fun. The teeth. It's not perfect. I enjoy the story. Let me say that. I do enjoy the story. Because, again, much kind of like Midnight, you don't exactly get what these things are, how they came about. I like that that's not really explained. It's neat seeing David and Catherine playing different characters. And, of course, all the different characters interacting with each other. The not David interacting with the real the real Donna. The not Donna interacting with the real Doctor. That's really nice to see. Everybody's putting in a good performance here. I don't like at the end when he grabs the wrong Donna just to realize it's the wrong Donna right there at the end. It just seems a little forced and unbelievable to me and padding. I didn't really care for that. I did love the plan, though, how the captain of the ship had set that plan to where and then put herself out the airlock so the things couldn't read her mind. I enjoyed that plan. And how they're there at the edge of the universe because of the flux. That's pretty neat. I love the explanation from the Doctor to Donna, even though I think it's the fake Donna, about his anguish about the events of Flux. I like that we get, that they talk about that, because, with Whitaker, we never really got any consequences from the events of the Flux. So I like the fact that that's sticking with the Doctor, and that he kind of blames himself, much like in Mind of Evil, he blames himself for not being able to save the alternate Earth. He's still kind of suffering from the loss of that world in Mind of Evil. I like that we get that here, that the events of Flux are still kind of haunting him. And, yeah, I enjoy it. I don't think it deserves necessarily to be any higher, even though it's my favorite of the 3 specials, but I don't think it's necessarily the best. There is another one of the 3 specials higher on the list. But if I was ranking them favorites, this one would be the highest of the 3 specials. Again, I'm really trying to differentiate between my personal favorite and the stories I think are the best. Which is, again, hard to do when you're as attached to the show as I am. Next on the list is 73 Yards. I like this one. It's one of those Doctor Who stories that is different and unique. That the Mind Robbers, Celestial Toy Maker, Ghost Light, Midnight. Very, those rare stories where there's nothing quite like it. I can't think of a piece of fiction that's quite like 73 Yards. Well, maybe there's an episode of the original Twilight Zone where a woman keeps seeing a hitchhiker, which is a really good episode. That, in a small way, kind of reminds me of this, but it's just a small way. This is a really good episode. Millie Gibson puts in such a good performance. To be a Dr. Light episode, and for her to have been like 18 when she was filming this, she really carries the episode. Now, the guest cast put in good performances. The actress who plays her mom is a very good actress. Because she can be the happy, supported mom, but she can also do those kind of alternate universe scenes where she's very almost down, depressed, doesn't want anything to do with Ruby. She's really good at bouncing between those. Kate is putting in a good performance, what little bit we get of her here. The guy playing the Prime Minister, Roger Williams, I mean, the guy's a good actor. He's making you really despise this guy. So I'm liking the guest cast in this. I'm liking the cinematography. And I like the fact it doesn't explain things. You don't know what happened to the Doctor. You don't know why the TARDIS won't let her in. I like the mystery of it. You don't know what she's saying to everybody to drive them away from her. You don't understand how she travels back in time when she's old you don't know how any of this works. And that's what I like about it. Much like in Midnight, not understanding what the Midnight entity is, I like the mystery of this episode. Never explain it, Russell. Never explain it. It's what makes it work for me. Also, I like the actress playing the older Ruby, who, her husband was in classic Doctor Who, The Savages, I believe. Yeah, her husband played one of the characters in The Savages in real life. That's pretty neat to me. Sneaking someone kind of connected to a Classic Who alum like that in. I enjoyed that. It's just a fun, thought-provoking episode. And, again, it has a unique feel to it. Next for me is Demons of the Punjab. Now, most of you know I like this one. Again, subjectivity is definitely going to creep into to me trying to be as objective as possible. I like Demons of the Punjab. Again, it sticks to the original mandate of the show, and it really does feel a lot like a Hartnell pure historical. But it educates. You know, the original job of Doctor Who was to educate children on history. And, you know, this talks about, I didn't really know much about partition and Pakistan forming. I just didn't. I wasn't familiar with that. So it was kind of fascinating to get a history lesson on that. Again, I really like the performances. Now, it's not 100% perfect, and I think it's interesting that Yaz's grandmother is more fleshed out as a character than Yaz is in this episode. And the Doctor using a sonic just to undo rope is a little, really? So it's not perfect, but the performances are good. The guy playing the main guest character, male, I forget his character's name, the one that marries Yaz's grandma, he's great. He is so good in this episode, especially that final confrontation between his brother and the other guys on horseback. He is phenomenal in that scene. And hats off to the actor playing his brother, because he is playing that part really, really well. The cinematography is nice. The fake out is really good. How it makes you think the aliens are involved, even though they're not. And it's really just history taking its course, sadly. Now, there is the huge plot hole of how they can't figure out how the shaman died. The huge bullet hole sides plot hole. Because they should have been able to see the bullet hole on him to know how he died. But somehow they missed that. That's a plot hole, to be fair. And that's why it's not ranked higher. But it's still an enjoyable episode. Even if Whitaker herself isn't the most impressive to me in this episode. But the episode itself is still really good. Next on the list is The Well. I found The Well to be a worthy sequel to Midnight, a story I never thought needed a sequel, but they didn't do what I was always worried a sequel would do. They didn't ruin Midnight. They didn't give too much backstory about the creature, the Midnight entity. The fact they still left that a mystery is nice. But I like the fact that they don't just flat out say, hey, we're back on Midnight. It's something you find out over the course of the story. I really like. Again, I talk about the cinematography a lot, but again, Season 2 has just looked so good. The Well is probably the strongest story from Season 2. Definitely my favorite of the season. It does the horror vibes, the creepy vibes, the suspense vibes really well for the most part. Not a perfect episode. I don't know, again, if I would call it S tier, I don't think I would. But good. I like the suits they wear. I think Gat was putting in a good performance. I like the little flashback to Tennant and Sky when he reveals it's Midnight. I like the reveal scene. The guest cast are a bit of a mixed bag. I mean, they're fine. They're not really blowing me away. I like Rose a lot. The one playing Alyssa. I can't remember her name, but Rose's character is really good. She is possibly the best part of the episode character-wise. I really like her performance. I think the actress is a good actress. And the actress playing kind of the commander of the unit, the one that sacrifices herself at the end, she's good. She's not great, but she's good. But while her character is a little more fleshed out, it feels like... You ever have a character that feels kind of fakely fleshed out? It's like they're trying to flesh her out, but not really fleshing her out. It kind of feels like that. And the actress is doing fine with what she has, but I feel like this character needed more. And then the other characters are just kind of there. The second-in-command guy is just kind of there to be problematic and take command and get everybody killed. Again, it's nothing on the actors. They just have nothing to work with. The scene when everybody's just getting killed just feels rushed. Like, I feel like that should have been spread out more. It just... Okay, we're halfway through the episode. People need to start dying. Let's get the cannon fodder out of here. And I felt at the beginning of the episode, I'm like, okay, a lot of these people are just kind of there to die. They're not going to get really much dialogue. They're just going to die. Can't even tell you their names. To be fair, I'm terrible with names. The bit with the creature possibly escaping, I like the fact that's left, to me, that's left ambiguous. I like the ambiguous nature of it. I didn't really need it to be there. But I like the fact they don't flat out confirmed it got away. I know people talk about the 4 lights on the thing, but for me, it's very ambiguous, and I like that. That makes it work for me. But it's a good, solid episode and a good, solid sequel to a good story, and it's well made and well directed. Next on the list is Thin Ice, and my favoritism, my subjectivity is definitely coming into play here, because I do love Thin Ice, my second favorite Capaldi story. And if I was ranking these by favorites, this would probably even be higher. But I had to stop and think, okay, at what point is my personal love for Thin Ice interfering with my judgment of Thin Ice? And I couldn't just put it any higher when I thought about that. First off, Peter Capaldi is great. Peter Capaldi's always great. He just sells it in this episode. I really like Pearl Mackie as Bill Potts. I like Bill Potts a lot. I think the Doctor and Bill have really good chemistry together. I like how they bounce off each other. I love the set, the wardrobe, the set design. I mean, The BBC is good at doing historicals. They are so good at doing period pieces. We know this. And it feels like you're actually there in that time period. I love the dialogue when the Doctor's like, we're going to be diplomatic, and he ends up punching the racist guy in the face. I love that. I love the fact that it's not afraid to show a child die. Like when you see a child running with the Sonic, and you see his hand sticking out of the ground holding the Sonic. I like the fact it goes there. Because a lot of shows would be too scared to go there. Especially a family-friendly show like Doctor Who. The fact that kid like got I love the fact it went there. I'm not going to lie. I was like, they did that. The scene when Pearl is conversing with the Doctor about it, when she's asking, wait, have you seen people die? Have you killed anyone? That whole scene is so well performed by both of them. When she's really starting to learn about the Doctor, and he's like, she's like, how many people have you killed? And he just doesn't answer. He's like, you don't know, do you? And you don't even look fazed by it. Why is that? And he's like, because then more people die. I love that scene. It's just a well-made story. A well-acted story. Definitely a personal favorite of mine. And I do feel like it deserves to be on this list. Because I never hear anybody talk bad about Thin Ice. I think most people acknowledge it's a well-made story. Next on the list is The Giggle. Basically the culmination of the 60th anniversary events. Everything kind of came together in The Giggle. If there is a 60th anniversary story, it would be this one. And I feel like they put the budget into it. It looks nice. I think David Tennant does a good job playing the 10th Doctor. Catherine Tate does a good job playing Donna. I like, what's her name? Yasmin Finney as Rose. And of course, it's always great to see Donna's mom back. She's just fantastic. The special effects for the Meep look really good. I know it's a combination of practical and CGI effects. And it's neat to see them adapt a more obscure comic story. I wasn't very familiar with Beep the Meep either. I think I had vaguely heard of it, but didn't know much about it. So it's an interesting story for them to adapt. Granted, it's not as fleshed out as the Big Finish audio is with Tom Baker, but that's because the runtime is greater for the audio, whereas here they have a runtime they have to fit everything into. But it looks really good. It's always nice to see Kate back. And I really like Neil Patrick Harris as the toy maker, especially in the first half of the story. Pretty much everything all the way up to the dance number is really, really good. Now, everything after that gets a little weird. And it's not a crack on Neil Patrick Harris. He's always great. But the problem is, from the music number on, I don't feel like I'm watching the toy maker. I feel like I'm watching Neil Patrick Harris. He acts like a totally different character from that point on. It's like, once Russell learned he was having Neil Patrick Harris in the role, he just wrote for Neil Patrick Harris. Because the first half of the story, the toy maker is very intimidating. Listening to him in that first scene when he's selling the doll, there's something creepy and spooky and scary about him. And when the Doctor runs into the shop with Donna and the toy maker's throwing the balls at them, that's a very well done scene. And yes, I love the colorized flashbacks of William Hartnell and Michael Gough that intercuts with there. The music there is perfect too, as you see the Doctor realize who it is he's facing. The performances there are so good between all three of the actors on screen. And the fact that the Doctor's like, Donna, go back to the TARDIS, which he never tells Donna to do, tells you how serious it is. And just that way he says, the toy maker. And even Neil Patrick Harris, when he's like, oh, but he is to recognizing me, have to see each other, after so many years. I love the way his voice changes there. And, he's pretty intense for a lot of that. I like the card game face-off there. It's really clever of the Doctor to pick cards, actually. Very simple rules. Less chance for the toy maker to use them to his advantage, let us say. But from the musical number, it feels more like I'm watching Neil Patrick Harris than I'm watching the toy maker. That doesn't feel like the toy maker to me. The bi-generation doesn't bother me in the episode itself. It bothers me later because it does make several things that happen afterwards not make sense. You know, why is everything going on in the world that, you know, everything going wrong and the 14th Doctor's never there? Empire of Death, where's the 14th Doctor? Whatever's going on in season 2, where's the 14th Doctor? So it creates problems later, but in the episode itself, it doesn't really bother me. It's an interesting introduction to the 15th Doctor and to see basically a multi-Doctor story, also as a regeneration story, also as a post-regeneration story. That's pretty interesting, actually. It's nice to have Bonnie Langford back as well, and knowing that she's there working for Unit's pretty fun. It's got some nice little bits of humor slapped in there. Again, the effects look really good. Not a solid 10 out of 10 by any means. It definitely has its flaws, and I do prefer Wild Blue Yonder over it, but I think it's a well-made episode. It does have a couple pieces in there that doesn't need to be there. The whole bit at the end with the just let it go, and the, you know, if you were still a male or a female presenting Time Lord, and that's something a male presenting Time Lord never, that's eye rolling and annoying and doesn't need to be there. You could have cut that right out. And it's quite possibly the most eye rolling moment in all of Doctor Who, actually. I don't know, Empire of Death could give it some run for its money. But the episode, other than that, is pretty solid, I think. And it doesn't live up to the 50th anniversary special, but it does still, it's a solid piece of Doctor Who, flaws and all. Next on the list is Fugitive of the Jedon. And this one is such a roller coaster of a story, especially the first time you see it. Ruth is an interesting character before and after she gets her memories back. Lee is an interesting character, trying to figure out what their connection is. It's nice to see the Jedon back. I always love the Jedon. It's great to get Captain Jack back. I always like Jack. Jack's a good character. It's nice to have him back in the show. And the whole exchange between him and Graham is pretty funny, actually. It's nice to get some foreshadowing with future stories. And then it's really interesting how it introduces this new incarnation of the Doctor. And then it doesn't really tell you where she falls. You know, when this episode aired, you don't know if she is season 6B Doctor, pre-Hartnell. Even though I still can't quite accept the fact she's pre-Hartnell if she has a police box TARDIS. That always bugs me. But Jo Martin was just so good in the role when she's Ruth and when she's the Doctor. And I love her TARDIS interior. I love her TARDIS. It's so much better than Jodie's. I love that modern day classic style looking TARDIS. I want that TARDIS. I love that interior TARDIS. And it just sets up so many mysteries. It was just such a fun roller coaster to watch the first time you saw it. It's a fun story to rewatch. But really, that first viewing, just such a well-made piece of television. Number 4 on the list is World Enough in Time and the Doctor Falls. Now, I personally think Part 2 doesn't live up to Part 1. Part 1 is the better part, and I don't like the fact they go from the Mondasian Cybermen to the current day at the time Cybermen that fast. I would have liked to have seen more of the Mondasian look, or seen some of the other designs from Classic Who, like the Moon-based design, or Revenge of the Cybermen design, the Invasion design, stuff like that, the 80s design, you know, something like that would have been nice, but I get you got to use the props you have. They do have a budget they're on. I think it's a neat story with the ship being caught in the black hole and part of the ship, you know, time going much faster at the back of the ship than it does at the front of the ship because of the time distillation effect. That's really neat. I love the opening with this when Missy's pretending to be the Doctor, because it's a nice nod and wink to the audience. And I do find it amusing. I always love Michelle Gomez as Missy. Michelle Gomez as Missy is what made me so easy to accept Time Lords being able to change race and gender. Because I do think there was a time when I would have been very adamantly against that, just as someone who's been a show of the fan as long as I have. It's the reason why I never have any problems with people who are against it, who think the Doctor should be a white male just because they've been watching the shows for 60, 70 years. And the Doctor changing race and gender is more of a modern Who thing. I understand why people feel that way, and I can totally respect their opinion on that. But because I love Michelle Gomez as Missy, and I fully 100% accept her as a female version of the Master, it makes me very easy to accept Time Lords in general being able to change their gender, change their race, to where I don't find that problematic. So that's all really down to Michelle Gomez's performance. She's so good in the role. She's probably my second favorite version of the Master after Delgado. Nobody's beating Delgado. I like the set designs. They look really good. The cliffhanger to part 1 with Bill being converted is horrific and really well done. The twist, and I don't think it's a spoiler at this point, that we also get John Sims' Master back at the end. I just love that twist. Even if the fact Sims was coming back had been kind of leaked in the trailer. And the fact it lent into the Master being the Master of Disguises, again, tying back to the Delgado days. I like that. And giving us our first on television multi-Master story is really neat. And I love the ending of that with them betraying each other. It's so in the Master's nature. I like that. Now, again, part 2 doesn't quite live up to part 1. And we never quite get a satisfactory ending, because while Nardole and more people are escaping to the other end of the ship, won't the Cybermen catch them eventually? And then the lead into Twice Upon a Time, I think, is really well done. I love the cliffhanger with David Bradley's first Doctor. It's a well-made story, a great swan song, basically, for the 12th Doctor. As someone who also really enjoys Twice Upon a Time, I kind of think of it as a 3-parter, really. It's just well made, and Peter Capaldi's just always putting in a good performance. And I like that Bill gets up her happy ending with Heather. Number 3 on the list for me is Power of the Doctor. I rank Power of the Doctor so high because it just feels like a celebration of Doctor Who, all of Doctor Who. Even more so than the 50th anniversary special, which felt more like a celebration of like modern Who. Power of the Doctor really feels like a celebration of Doctor Who in general, actually, classic and modern. Bringing back Ace and Tegan, and they're 2 of my favorite companions. You know, I love Sophie, I love Janet. I think they both embody their characters well. And they step back into their characters so well, playing these older versions of these characters to perfection, really. For the most part. Ace gets a little too thinking she's like 18 again once she puts the jacket on. But I think that's less Sophie and more of the writing. I like the fact they brought back the lone Cyberman. He's a great character, but they kind of waste him here, in my opinion. Although I do love the fact they do kind of the Russian doll thing with them all coming out. That's pretty neat. I think Sacha Dhawan is good here. I don't necessarily think he's great, but I think he's good here as he's playing the Master. I love the fact they went with the Master as Rasputin. That's just clever. That's a stroke of genius. I like that. Especially him playing the song. I love when the Dalek and the Cybermen are looking at each other like, what? I like the group at the end when you see all of the companions in a group. We even got to see William Russell again. And seeing Mel and seeing Joe. I enjoyed that. And I like the way the regeneration is handled. The fact there's not really a long speech. The fact she doesn't regenerate in the TARDIS. I like the regeneration. It was nice because it looks like it was filmed to originally be an open regeneration if the show ended. And that would have been a great open regeneration. I do like how it's done with him regenerating into Tennant. I don't mind the clothes changing. That kind of stuff doesn't bother me. The clothes changed in the very first regeneration from the first Doctor to the second. So there is a precedent for that. So that doesn't bother me. And then of course, perfect David Tennant right there. That's exactly the way his Doctor would end that. And this feels like, I think part of it is this feels like the modern Doctor Who equivalent to the 5 Doctors. And I love the 5 Doctors. The 5 Doctors and the 3 Doctors are my 2 favorite multi-Doctor stories. And the 5 Doctors, while the plot isn't the most solid plot of all time, it's a lot of fun. It really is. The story's really just an excuse to get these companions and these incarnations of the Doctor all together for a fun little romp. The story's not S-tier story, even A-tier story, but it's fun to see all these characters together. The Five Doctors has such a rewatchability to it, and it's so much fun every time I go back and rewatch it. Power of the Doctor feels like that. It's not an S-tier story. It's not even an A-tier story. But it does a good job of getting these characters together and giving us some nice fan service. And it really does feel like it would have made a great last hurrah for the modern series. If modern Doctor Who had ended with Power of the Doctor, it would have been a phenomenal set-off. It's my favorite Jodie Whittaker era story, I would say, right off the top of my head. It could arguably be her best one for entertainment value. Not for story, but for entertainment value. It's great how they managed to bring in previous Doctors with the Guardians of the Edge, getting to see McGann. I mean, who is not going to be all for some more McGann on screen? We got Paul McGann on screen again. Yes, seeing Colin. Getting Colin Baker back in the TV show as the Doctor proper. Yes. Getting Peter Davison, getting Sylvester McCoy, getting David Bradley back as the first Doctor. It was nice to see them back. And then, of course, getting Tegan interacting with the Fifth Doctor and Ace interacting with the Seventh Doctor via the hologram. The hologram idea was clever because, one, I like the idea of the Doctor having a backup hologram to help out in case she's incapacitated. That's clever. But I like the hologram switching into Peter Davison when interacting with Tegan, and the hologram switching to McCoy when interacting with Ace, and how it's explained in story, the fact it's responding to their emotional memory, and how they also use that to bring in the Fugitive Doctor, and how that actually makes sense for the plot, how the Fugitive Doctor and them trick the Cybermen into all shooting each other, while giving us a great reason to see the Fugitive Doctor and get her in this episode. I liked that. The dialogue between Ace Ace, Tegan, and their Doctors is so well written to where even if you haven't seen the classic era, you can kind of get the emotional weight behind it. You get the closure in those scenes. Even if you don't understand the Fifth Doctor's line, Adric, and you don't understand the significance of it, you can understand that there is a significance to it. That it is an important line. And of course, for those of us of the classic series, even if you're not a big fan of Adric as a companion, it's a gut punch right to the stomach. You know, what do you think I think seeing all these Cybermen? And just looks at her. Adric. You know, that's, ooh, right in the feels. Because that one word carries so much weight to it. So much weight, so much guilt for Tegan and for the Doctor. I don't think the Fifth Doctor especially ever quite got over the guilt he felt. I mean, his last word before he regenerated in caves was Adric. So that's definitely something he's carried with him. And then I love we got a Braveheart in there. Because, you know, we got to get a Braveheart. And then I also enjoyed the dialogue between Seven and Ace, because much like some of the expanded universe, we know they had a falling out. And to see them, you know, kind of manage to fix that bond. And to even hear McCoy use her catchphrase, you know, oh, we're more than good. We're Ace. With that little bit of smile he gives, too. And I got to give credit to the music there. You know, I seriously, I start tearing up just talking about those scenes. I find it very interesting that in the Jodie Whittaker era, in the 13th Doctor era, the best time of the Doctor comforting her companions is not the 13th Doctor. It's the 5th Doctor and the 7th Doctor. That's very telling to me. It's just a really fun, good celebration of Doctor Who. And it celebrates all of Doctor Who. Not just modern Doctor Who. It does a really good job of celebrating all of Doctor Who. And my hat's off to it for that. And that's why it's that high on the list. Rightfully so, in my opinion. Number 2 on the list is Dot and Bubble. And again, some of my favoritisms got to be showing through here. I love Dot and Bubble. I think it is such a well-made episode. S tier. S tier for me. First off, a lot of credit has got to go to, I think her name is Callie, the actress playing Lindy. She is so good. The episode literally lives or dies on her performance because she's kind of the main character of the episode. And she nails this episode. All of, again, the different emotions and the different story beats her character has to hit in this episode, she nails every single one. Because this story does a good job of making the audience feel certain ways towards her during different parts of the episode. At the beginning of the episode, the audience can be probably annoyed with her because she comes across as that kind of spoiled brat nepo baby type that just makes you go, oh my God, these people can't even walk in the real world properly. And you just get annoyed when you see these spoiled people who don't understand what an actual day's work is. To getting you later in the story, getting you rooting for her because she's learning, she's getting better. You think she's trying to better herself. She learns how to walk. She finds Ruby Sunday, and you feel like she possibly is growing as a person. And so you get the audience kind of rooting for her, pulling for her, on her side. And then, of course, you get the twist at the end when you realize, no, she's a terrible person. And I think you really get that. I think that really hits home the first time, especially on first watch, when she's about to get killed by the ball and she shouts that Ricky September's original name is Coombs, when she basically throws Ricky under the bus and Ricky gets killed because of that. The ball goes straight through his head. I think that's the first time you really realize just how bad of a person she is. You still don't get the full context of it. But that's, I think, when you stop and go, wait, did she just, oh my gosh, oh you bitch. I would never forget. I think it's exactly what Jess said in her video. I love Seska's reaction. She's my favorite Doctor Who reactor. Jess, I remember that's exactly what came out of her mouth right when that happened. And that sticks with me because that is exactly when you realize that she's not a good person. And then, of course, when you get to the end of the story and you realize exactly why she's so antagonistic to the Doctor, and then it really clicks in your head that all of the people in Fine Time are all white. I mean, it's something you kind of notice, but it's kind of in the back of your mind. And then you realize that, and you realize these people are racist. Not just racist, elitist, classist, racist. And then you really get that full degree of, oh. And you just get that disgust for her as a character. That, you get that, okay, you're setting off on your own in the boat. Yeah, I'd wish you good luck, but I'm not going to do that. You're not going to last long. And you know what? That's okay. And so it's really neat. Again, this is all down to Callie's acting. The fact she is able to make the audience feel all of these different emotions. Now, other things really work with this as well. It's a well-directed episode. Very well-directed. I love the choices. The colors are interesting. They have a very 70s vibe. I could never quite put my finger on what I wanted, how to describe the colors until I was watching Blind Wave's reaction. And one of them mentioned the very 70s colors to it. And that's exactly it. They have a very 70s look to them. They're bright. They have this kind of pastel look to them to me. And I definitely like the colors. The special effects look really good. Again, this visually looks very impressive. The way the bubbles work with this budget, you can see the Disney money here. I like that idea that these people are just in their own bubble, quite literally. I like the slug. I like the designs of the slugs. Like, it has a kind of simplistic look to it, but I like it. And that they're slow, and you wouldn't think they'd be able to kill anybody, but these people are so oblivious to what is going on around them, which is the point, that the slow slugs are still able to kill them all. Also, I love the reveal that the dots hate them. The actual dots hate them and have grown to hate them and want to kill them. I love that. And then I like the story. This is a great way to do a story talking about racism and execute it well. I think the last time I can think of a story that really delves into racism and tells it in such a good way is probably an episode from the original Star Trek series called Let That Be Your Last Battlefield. The one where it has the two guys and one of their faces, one side of their face is painted black, one side of their face is painted white. It does a really good job dealing with the themes of racism and the dangers of racism and what can sadly be the consequence of racism. I love that episode of Star Trek. This episode also handles it really well. And the fact that on rewatch, you can see all the little things that, you might have flagged in the back of your mind, but you kind of don't pay attention to it because you just think, well, she's just not a good person. Again, rich, uppity, bratty type. That you don't really think about the full context of it. But knowing the full context of who the people in Fine Time are and what they are, that you see all of those little things. And now when you see them, you're like, ooh, that is just dreadful. Like when she's like, yeah, look, I know, I promise, guys, he's smarter than he looks. He's going to be in so much trouble. Can't wait for that. And you're just, you watch that knowing the full context, and you're like, God, these are just dreadful people. I mean, really, the only one with any redeeming qualities is Ricky September. He actually does seem like... I'm fully convinced that if he had met the Doctor, he would have accepted the Doctor's help. He really does seem like the one person in all of this that does seem to legitimately have a brain in his head. And again, I think actually would have accepted help from the Doctor. He's the one kind of possibly redeemable person in this group at Fine Time. I also got to point out that the other things the episode tricks you into thinking about aren't red herrings. Like, the episode isn't just talking about the dangers of racism. Like, it sends all of these other things out that you might not catch on, or that you're more likely to latch on to. The classism, the elitism. Those aren't just red herrings. Those do pull your attention away from the racism. But those are still valid things the episode is criticizing and satirizing. This episode, while very much pointing out the dangers of racism and why racism is bad, is also pointing out that classism and elitism are bad. It's dealing with all of those things and basically shining a light on them. And also the fact that the dangers of being in an echo chamber, the dangers of not paying attention to what is going on around you, the dangers of not stepping out of your own social bubble. It is talking about all of those things and satirizing all of those things. And I think that's something everybody should keep in mind. My hat's off to Ncuti Gatwa's performance at the end of this episode and Millie Gibson's. Millie's is a little more subdued in the background, but her performance is good. Like, I like when she's just like, especially being someone who was raised in a black family, when her adopted family is a black family, she's going to be more sensitive to this and more aware of this, having probably seen that growing up herself. When she's like, I can't even. And you can tell she's just totally disgusted by what she's seeing. Like, and you can tell she kind of seems to catch on to it even before the Doctor does. But Ncuti Gatwa, his performance there, when he wants so hard to save these people, and he tells you, you can say whatever you want. You can think anything. I don't care. Just let me save your life. And that is such a good performance. And that frustration when he realizes they're not going to let him simply because of how he looks, and he does that, he starts laughing and he does that scream, is perfect. Because I have dealt with frustrations like that in my own life. Just those little things, which a lot of times aren't even my fault. They're things beyond my control. And you sit there and you laugh about it, and just the frustration gets to it, and you let out that, ah! I get that. That really resonates with me, because I've had points in my life where I've felt like that. And it's just a solid performance. Just a solid episode that I really enjoy personally, and that I think is a really good job of Doctor Who handling social matters without feeling like it's hitting me over the head with it's not treating the audience like it's stupid. It feels like it handles its multiple messages in a clever way that doesn't feel like lecturing. And I like that. That is a great way to deliver a political message. The episode executes that so well. And number 1 on the list is Heavensent. And the funny thing is if I was ranking them by favorites, I'm not sure if Heavensent would be number 1 or not. It'd still be up there. But Heavensent is just so well made. It deserves the praise it gets. It's pretty much a one-man show from Capaldi for the most part. And Peter Capaldi is arguably the best actor to ever play the role. Certainly one of the best actors to ever play the role. He nails everything he's doing here. Again, I love the directing of this episode. I love the scenes when the Doctor is in his own mind in the TARDIS. I love watching him slowly piece this episode together. I like, as he's trying to figure out what's going on, the audience is right there beside him trying to figure out what's going on. Seeing the Sea of Skulls, trying to figure out what's going on with that. The intro, when we just saw the hand get killed and the bird message. Watching us try to put it together as he's trying to put it together. And then trying to figure out what it is that's stalking him is really interesting. And then, of course, the final scene when he realizes what's going on. And seeing it all click into place for him as it all clicks into place for us. Also, The Shepherd's Boy is a fantastic song. I love that music. It fits this scene perfectly. And it's just a wonderful, wonderful Murray Gold music. And then just seeing what this Doctor had to endure and for how long he had to endure it. And just when it clicks in your head, finally, what's been going on and that he's in the loop. It's just, mwah, mwah. I really don't know what more to say about this episode. And I probably shouldn't have to. You probably understand why Heavensent gets the accolades it does. It just proves that Moffat, at his best, can be one of the best writers the show has ever had. And he really proves it here. Heavensent, definitely number 1 for me. Everything about this episode just comes together well. I'm not really keen on his last line of "the hybrid is me," but you know, it's an episode that had to lead it into Hellbent, and I'm not going to penalize it for it when the rest of the episode is so strong. And the fact that the revelation that it is the TARDIS behind the wall. I still think he probably should have grabbed the shovel and been hitting the diamond with a shovel instead of his fist. I think it would have went a little quicker if he'd taken the shovel and been... But that's just a little nitpick from me. So that's what I think are the 15 best episodes of the past decade of modern Doctor Who from 2015 through 2025. I want to know what you think of my list and my reasoning, and I want to know what you think the best 15 episodes of the past decade are from 2015 to now. Comment down below and let's talk about it. Don't forget to click the like button and the subscribe button as well. I also have a Patreon if you would like to support me on that. There is a link to that down there. That helps me pay the bills, and it's very much appreciated. My P.O. box is down there if there's anything you'd like to send me to look at and review. I love getting fan mail. It makes my day. So feel free to send me something. I love getting stuff, Doctor Who or non-Doctor Who. I love sci-fi stuff. I have a link to my Amazon wish list down there and a link to my Amazon UK wish list, and I think I've got the UK wish list fixed. I was having some trouble getting some stuff from it. Some people told me they were having some trouble sending stuff from it. I think I've got that taken care of. So check that out as well. I want to give a shout out to some of my top tier patrons, Finn Perkins, Colin Coney, Sam Venning, and Unknown289. I appreciate their support as I do the support of all of my patrons. It's very much appreciated. Most importantly, thank you for watching.